8 is the number of David. David is the 8th son, and Yeshua adds up to 888 in Greek. I mean, we could keep getting down this rabbit hole. 8 is a number of new beginning. 8 were saved in Noah's Ark. So he dies to give us a new beginning. He dies so that we can transcend the natural and experience the supernatural. He dies so we can enter into the kingdom. So there's so much theological and spiritual significance and symbolism in him dying on the 6th day. Shalom. Listen, I want to get into something really significant here with you this evening. I want to raise 3 questions. On what day did Yeshua die? How many days was he actually in the tomb? And on what is significant about the day on which he rose? Now, I want to ask these questions because of the fact that when I posted this week that Yeshua died on a Friday, a number of people got really upset and annoyed about that. I think some think I am heretical, even though that is the traditional belief that he died on a Friday. There's many who get upset about it because they take the scriptures very literally, that he would be in the grave 3 days and 3 nights, which is the sign to Jonah. Like Jonah was in the belly of the beast 3 days and 3 nights, so will the Son of Man. And so from their perspective, if he died on a Friday, it does not fulfill literally what the scriptures have to say concerning that. So they get really upset, and there's some really interesting comments and exchanges on my social media pages. So I want to say this before we jump into the specifics of what we are going to talk about here this evening. First of all, I just want to say that the scripture does not give us the explicit day on which he died, though, as we'll see, I believe it does give us clues. Okay. And I say that because if the scripture wanted us to be dogmatic about an issue, it would have given us the exact day. Okay. That being said, okay, the important thing is ultimately, right, not the day on which he died. The ultimate is the fact that he rose from the dead. Okay, that's the most important things. Though I believe there is great spiritual significance in understanding and insight that comes from exploring this question even more. Okay, and so we are going to delve into that this evening, right? So it is not an essential matter of the faith. It doesn't put someone in faith or out of faith if we disagree upon the day on which he died. But again, I do believe there are some clear clues in the text that give us clarity. Okay, and we are going to explore that here this evening. As we talked about before, there are arguments that are not for the sake of heaven, those are bad. And then there are arguments that are for the sake of heaven, and those are good. It's like iron sharpens iron. That's what we're about to get into here this evening. So again, the biggest objection to Yeshua dying on Friday, which is the traditional day it's believed that he died according to tradition, is that it can't be said that he was in the grave 3 days and 3 nights, literally, if we're taking that to mean 3 full days, 72 hours. Okay. So then, how is this issue solved? Okay. We have to understand is that the Bible was written by Jewish people, right? And we must look at it from that perspective. And I believe that the key is understanding the cultural context in which the scriptures were written, okay? So we have to understand is that from a Jewish perspective, there are detailed halachot, okay, for mourning, okay? And you'll see why this is important. So when a person, when an immediate family member dies, you are to sit what is known as Shiva. What's interesting is that this 7-day mourning period has been talked about a lot in The Chosen. I actually had a text conversation with some people from The Chosen today about this and how it's some of the mourning rituals play out because it's part of The Chosen, plays a significant role in The Chosen TV series, both in this past season and the upcoming season 4, right? And as many of you guys know, I'm a spiritual advisor on The Chosen, especially when it comes to the Jewish things. So this understanding that when a person dies, there are the first 7 days known as sitting Shiva. Shiva from the term is connected to the word Sheva, which means 7, but also connected to the word for sitting. Sitting and 7 have come from the same root. Okay, so you just sit and mourn 7 full days to begin with. Okay, and there's very strict limitations on what you can do during these 7 days, meaning you cover the mirrors in your home, you're not to bathe for pleasure, you're not to take a shower, you're not to go to work, okay, and a number of other things. So these are significant limitations on a person's life. And the rabbis say this, right? That the period of mourning begins on the day that someone is buried. So if a person is buried 1 hour before sunset, that counts as day 1 in the count of the days that one mourns, okay? And it's interesting, the rabbis say that if someone is, the minimum days that someone has to sit Shiva is 3 days, because in case of, let's say, financial hardship, someone can't sit the full 7, or other extenuating circumstances, they can end Shiva on the first phase of Shiva on the 3rd day, and certain leniencies are allowed, okay? So how would you count that, right? So if someone died, and if someone was died and was buried on Friday before sunset, that would be day 1, okay? Day 2 would be Saturday, okay? And day 3 after the morning prayers, okay, on the 3rd day, technically that would fulfill the minimal obligation of Shiva. So when the rabbis talk about the minimum of 3 days of mourning, it's not 3 whole days. But from a Hebraic rabbinic perspective and a Jewish perspective, even from a biblical perspective, I believe, a part of a day counts as a day for this purpose, okay? So from that perspective, Yeshua did fulfill 3 days, okay? Died and was buried on Friday, was in the tomb all day, Friday night, all day Saturday, rose on Sunday, okay? This actually, or on the first day, could have been, Jewish days start in the evening, okay? Genesis 1, it was Vahi-erev Vahi-voker, and it was evening and morning the first day. So anytime, theoretically, after sunset on Saturday night, he could have risen. But we know when they went to the tomb early Sunday morning, we know by that point that the stone had been rolled away and his body was not in the tomb. And that is good news. Okay. So again, it's not an issue when you look at it from a Hebraic perspective if he died on a Friday and rose on a Sunday, because of a Jewish reckoning of days in regards to mourning, 3 days, not a problem, according to Jewish halakha. And Yeshua was a rabbi. He was a Jew. This is perfectly permissible and in the bounds. There is no reason why this can't be, okay? But the question is, okay, why would it be spiritually significant that he died on a Friday and rose on a Sunday, right? Because some people believe he was crucified on Wednesday, okay? Or some think he was crucified on Thursday. But everything he does is so intentional, right? So the question is, would there be something significant spiritually, biblically, theologically about him dying on a Friday and rising on a Sunday? And I believe there absolutely is, okay? So what is it that is so significant? Well, think about it for a moment, okay? God created the world in 6 days. Friday, according to the biblical and Jewish reckoning of days, is the 6th day. So Yeshua died on the same day God created Adam and Eve. And in Jewish thought, man fell on the 6th day. So Yeshua died on the same day, which according to Jewish tradition, man fell. That is a tradition. But again, to understand that he died on the same day God made man and finished the work of creation. 6 in Hebrew is the number of connection. It's written with the letter Vav. Vav is literally the conjunction and. A conjunction connects two things. The first place the Vav occurs, Genesis chapter 1. God created the heavens, Vav, earth. Vav is the letter that connects heaven and earth. When we sinned, we broke the connection between heaven and earth. When Yeshua died on the 6th day, the day man was created, he restored the connection between heaven and earth. So significant that he died on the 6th day. But of course, there is more. God finished the work of creation on the 6th day. He rested on the 7th day, and he rose from the dead. Okay, so he rested on the 7th day, right? So think about it for a moment. In the same way God finished the work of creation on the 6th day and created man, Yeshua dies on the 6th day because he begins to finish the work of redemption and of new creation. And just like God finished his work and rested on the 7th, Yeshua finished his work, rests on the 7th, rises on the Sunday, which is, yes, technically the first day of the week, but we could also see it as the 8th day. Dies on the 6th, rests on the 7th, rises on Sunday, which could be considered both the first day and also, spiritually speaking, the 8th day. Why is that important? Because 8 is the number of the kingdom, okay? Why is it the number of the kingdom? 7 is the completion of the natural order. 8, according to biblical and Jewish thought, is the number that transcends and rises above the natural. 8 is the number of the supernatural. His resurrection was supernatural. So he rose on the day that represents the supernatural. 8 represents the messianic kingdom, okay, in Jewish thought from a Jewish perspective, because it transcends and transforms the natural order. 8 turned on its side is the number of infinity. The infinite broke into the finite, okay, with the resurrection. The kingdom broke in, the infinite eternal kingdom broke in, okay. But of course, there is more, okay, because 8, Yeshua's 8 is the number of David. David is the 8th son, and Yeshua adds up to 888 in Greek. I mean, we could keep getting down this rabbit hole. 8 is a number of new beginning. 8 were saved in Noah's Ark. So he dies to give us a new beginning. He dies so that we can transcend the natural and experience the supernatural. He dies so we can enter into the kingdom. So there's so much theological and spiritual significance and symbolism in him dying on the 6th day, a Friday, and rising on a Sunday. Okay. So much spiritual significance and restoration of connection, the ultimate connection, right? From 6 to 8.